Now, inevitably, when I post a video on my channel talking about, how difficult it is to be a musician and, the recent video I did about pay to play, there's always somebody that likes to chime in and say, well, songwriting's where the money's at. Look at, Jimmy Webb and, naming these legendary songwriters, from a way different time period, before the Beatles, before, they think, oh, well, if you'd have just been a songwriter. Look, man, I don't talk about it on this channel, but, I've been writing songs my entire career. And, you still have to get a break. And getting a break is not an easy thing. There are a lot of promises made in your career. And people say, oh, you got great songs. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to put one of your songs on my next record and all that. And man, when it comes down to it, 99.9% of what people say they're going to do is absolute horse manure. The reality is this. You have to be a songwriter if you're going to be a musician. And even if you just want to, do your shreddy licks, you've got to have the skills to write songs. But I am somebody that is very much into lyrics. I'm very much like the craft of songwriting. I've read books on songwriting. I've taken courses on songwriting. And, throughout my career, I've probably written 300 or 400 songs. And I've probably been lucky to record maybe 30 or 40 of those 100 songs. And yeah, I've probably got another maybe 100 or 200 little 4-track demos somewhere stashed on a cassette. And, back in the Sunset Strip days, I remember we had 100 songs written on a board. And these were our songs, and we go down, we put them in categories, and, here's our ballads, here's our up-tempo, here's our funky, here's our this. And we put them in categories, and we get to rehearsal. Okay, what do you want to run? Oh, hey, we haven't played this one in a while. Let's play this. Let me remember how this goes. And it was all up in my head. They weren't written down. They weren't recorded. And, they resided in my head. And I figured, oh yeah, when we get signed, we'll be able to record these. And, at that point in time, recording was a very cost prohibitive situation. And the main reason we were looking for a record deal was so that we could go into a studio and record. Now, we did get to record about 3 or 4 songs, 2 different sessions. IRS Records, we recorded 3 or 4 songs there, and then I think we redid some of those songs and recorded them at a studio that was run by EMI on Sunset. So yeah, we got a little bit of studio experience, and we did get to record some stuff. But the reality is, 100 songs probably were left on the table, and didn't exist anymore once, I left California and left the band. So, people, just be a songwriter, It's not easy. You still have to, here's the problem. There is no clear path to success. If you're a songwriter, you've got to find an artist to record the songs. And that's only part of the equation. Then that artist has to have gone through all of the channels, to get their song, on a label and recorded and, then it's got to make it through the recording process and make it through the producer. And hopefully you got a good producer. And if it's not produced well, then it could be dead in the water. And then even if it's produced well and sounds great and everyone says, man, this is a hit song, well, then the label's got to choose to promote it. And if the label decides, we're not really into this style of music right now, we're promoting this other thing, then your hit song could be shelved. And so you've just spent all of this time spinning your wheels, writing the song, getting it to an artist, getting it through the label, and go through all this rigmarole. Now, for some people, man, it could be a real, treasure, pirate's treasure, because they get through that system. Maybe they get a deal with their own project, and their songs, rocket up the charts, and then all of a sudden they start getting cuts and writing songs for other people. Prince was a guy like that. He had some success. He got a record deal. He had some success. His songs, he was very, very prolific. He would write songs. Then all of a sudden, people started coming to him. Can you give me a song? And he knew he had, piles and piles of songs. So he'd throw, the Bangles a bone, or he'd throw Stevie Nicks a bone, or he'd write songs for his other groups that he was producing. And I'm sure that was a healthy amount of money for Prince. But, Prince is no longer with us. It's not necessarily a recipe for success or longevity, but it did work for him. On the other hand, there's so many writers out there. And, coming to Nashville, that seemed like, it was a songwriting mecca and all this. But, I'm not a typical songwriter. I'm not a cowboy chords, strum this and write some lyrics or sit in a room with three people and with our cowboy chords and our capos and just churn out songs. I would write complete songs with, guitar parts, bass parts, drum parts, guitar solos. I would write an entire composition, and so, yeah, I didn't want to get together and write with somebody who didn't know how to play guitar. I didn't want to, to have to write with somebody when the vision was already in my head. And so, over the years, I wrote several albums. There's Suitcase Pimps, Love is Grand. There's the Loadsock album, Beautiful Mistake. Those are sort of my hard rock projects that I did. I wrote an entire album with Eric Blue. That's a yacht rock project called Midnight Glow. I wrote stuff for the Rap Necks album. I did a lot of writing over the years. And I've also done writing where I write with people who write music for TV and film. So a little bit of every now and then what we call mailbox money, comes in, and I'll say, oh, look, I got $100 to my bank account. Oh, look, this month was a good month. Oh, $200. And so those are songs or pieces of music that I wrote with somebody, and they took it to a company that placed it. And so that song would get picked and used. I've had things used on commercials. I've had things used on sporting things because I write sports rock, I guess is what they call it. So we wrote some sports rock, riffs, and that you'll hear that on golfing events or, football, or different kind of things like that. And then there's a show, Mo Rocca's, Fathers of Invention or something like that. We've had a bunch of music featured on that. And I've had, stuff on, Showtime movies and things like that. It equals a little bit of mailbox money. It's just a pleasant surprise that comes in. There's 4 quarters in a year. So, every quarter there might be a royalty check for this and a royalty check for that. And it never equals any kind of money that you could retire on, but it's a pleasant surprise. You don't expect it. And when it shows up, you're like, oh, well, that's nice. I got $100 or I got $200 this month. But it's never been in the thousands of dollars. It's not something that I've done just pound the pavement, get songwriting royalties. And I've had situations where I've been on the road and I'm playing a riff at sound check, and the artist goes, man, that's a killer riff. I want to use that on my next record. And so I demo it up. I maybe come up with a chorus. I maybe come up with some lyrics. And I go, here's the song. Oh, man, this is great. Yeah, I'm going to put this on my next record. Guess what? Once it gets to the A&R guy, and once you say to the A&R guy, hey, artist says he wants to use this on the next record. Oh, well, we've already got the song selected for this record. So I'll keep it in mind for the future. Well, here's the reality. The A&R guy would also have his hand in the writing. And maybe he wrote some songs with some people. And then maybe he's pulled in some of his buddies, some of his writing buddies. And they basically filled up the album with stuff that they preordained. And, they want to make sure they get their mailbox money too. So my song would get pushed to the forward. But meanwhile, I thought, man, I'm close. I'm so close. So I would come off the road and I would write and I would write and I would write and I would write. I'd get up in the morning. I'd be so tired from the road, and I'd get up and I'd start, using what I saw on the road, what I saw the audiences were reacting to, and the subject matters and stuff that were working on the road. I started writing similar material, and I even got together with one of the other guys in the band thinking, well, maybe if we both write something, it'll get. And I was told once again, oh yeah, we're gonna put this on the next record. And then the session comes and the song's not on there. But the guy that I brought in to my writing sessions, now one of his songs that he wrote with some other songwriters is on the session. And my songs are not. And to top it all off, my girlfriend at the time had bought my iMac that I was writing all this stuff on. And she decided in a fit of anger to delete the hard drive to my iMac and erase everything that I had worked on. Yeah. So, fortunately, I think I was able to, I had an hard drive or something. I was able to save some of those songs, but, at that point, man, it was coming close to my end of my journey on that particular gig. And, I wasn't getting any cuts on the record, and the promises and things that were made, didn't happen. And, it is what it is. But whenever somebody in the comments, oh, you should have gotten into writing. You should have wrote. The money's in the publishing. The money's in this. Man, you don't have any idea how difficult it is. You don't have any idea how, whether it's with an original band or being a side man or being, whatever, trying to get your way, get somebody to put your foot in that door and try to get your songs recorded and then, get through the whole process of the writing. Yeah, it seems easy. It seems just as easy as getting up on that stage and playing for thousands of people. It all seems very, very easy. But I tell you what, it's not. It's not easy. You're not going to get, nobody just hands out breaks. Nobody just hands out, oh, you write songs? Oh, come on in. Come on in. Oh, you got songs? Oh, we'll use all of them. Come on in. I had a meeting one time and people were impressed with the songwriting on one of the projects that I did. And they said, you're like Nashville, Steely Dan. You're like, Donald Fagen. You've got a great writing style, and I think, you deserve a publishing deal, and we'll buy up, it was all being negotiated. And I had a manager, and, we went to the meeting, and the guy sat there and said, glowing things about my writing. And I said, hey, I'm always writing. There's always new stuff on the way. And I really love to work with you guys and see, what we can do with the songwriting. And I think we even talked, what would be a weekly pay. So I would get, back in those days, you would get a publishing deal. You would get a weekly pay, maybe $400 or $500 a week. That was so you could just focus on your writing, get together with as many writers as possible, and write as much material as possible, and then submit it into the publishing company. Now, in return, they would get, I believe, 50% of your publishing. Now, you would still have your writer's share. You'd still have 100% of your writer's share, but you'd be giving up 50% of your publishing share. Now, that never came to fruition. I had the meeting. It went well. I sold myself. I told them all, what I thought they wanted to hear. And maybe the economics of it, and maybe they couldn't take on another writer, or I don't know what happened, but it never went any further than that. With the acknowledgement that, man, you're a really good writer, and we'd like to work with you, and we'd really like to see what you came up with. And I thought, man, here's an opportunity, here's a chance. But like anything in the business, there's often a lot of talk, but not a lot of follow-up. Things that are promised, things that seem like they're on the table, can be quickly taken away.